Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to Growing Through It, a podcast dedicated to bringing you clarity so that you can harness your curiosity and be the creator of your life. Hosted by me, Shanae Rowe. Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to this week's episode. I hope you've had a lovely weekend wherever you are, and I hope the sun was shining. Today's episode, number 6, is all about a growth mindset. So I'm going to be talking about what it is, why we need one, what the benefits are, and how we can sort of go about obtaining one or working towards developing ourselves so that we are in this state of a growth mindset. So what is a growth mindset? I think in essence, it's just a dedication to learning and developing all areas of ourselves, all aspects of who we are and who we want to become, right? It's sort of about embracing failure as a learning opportunity. So instead of viewing our failures and the things that we struggle at, instead of viewing these things as something that we're not good at or something that we shouldn't try and overcome, we view it as a learning opportunity. We think to ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? Do I want to do this? And is it going to help me develop a skill set or allow me to be a more compassionate person? Am I going to develop certain aspects of myself by doing this thing? And just because I fail at it the first few times, that doesn't mean that I should stop. It actually means that I should keep going, keep persisting, right? And I think a growth mindset is all about having a positive attitude when we're faced with challenges, when we're faced with failures, when we're faced with hardships. It's about persistence, right? And it's about believing that our abilities, they are not innate. They are not something that we are born with and that we're going to die with. And if we aren't born with specific amazing qualities, and that is like the end of us, we're not going to achieve anything wonderful. Like, that's definitely not what a growth mindset is. It's all about believing that we can develop and improve ourselves through effort and through learning and through persistence. Again, that amazing word, persistence. And as well, I think having a growth mindset is all about finding inspiration in other people's successes. So we look to other people for admiration. We look at sort of role models, and instead of being jealous or envious of what they're doing and what they're achieving, we admire them. We are inspired by what they're doing, about the person they are, about what they've achieved and what they want to achieve, right? The things that they're doing with their lives make us want to achieve more with our life. And I think that is like such an important and crazy, like amazing thing about a growth mindset, is that everyone's just trying to help everyone, right? We look to people for inspiration and for advice. So I think these are some key things that encapsulate what a growth mindset is, right? It's about learning, and it is about developing ourselves, and it is about wanting to be a better person each and every day, right? We wake up, we get out of bed, we want to be better than who we were yesterday, right? We want to become and evolve into who we envision ourselves to be. We want to develop qualities that we admire in other people. And I think that is the basis of what having a growth mindset is all about. It is not some crazy, unobtainable thing that only like the gurus and the Buddhas have. I think a lot of people do have this growth mindset. The majority of us, in some way, are oriented towards wanting to grow, wanting to be better. And what I want to talk about in this episode is why we need one, why it's important, what the benefits are, and how to develop the growth mindset even more. Because again, like, I believe a lot of us are wanting to be better, to do better. And it's just about learning tools and developing skills that allow us to continue growing, to continue evolving, to continue being that 1% better just every single day. So what I was saying before about a growth mindset is having a positive attitude when we are faced with challenges, and it is about persisting when we are faced with adversities. So, what is persistence? What does it actually mean? And it's basically continuing doing something, continuing with an option or a course of action in spite of the difficulty or the opposition or the resistance that you are met with, right? Persistence is about giving something a go, even when your mind is like, no, I'm not good at this. Even when your environment is like, no, we shouldn't be doing this. And even when people in your life are like, you're not good at this, you should probably stop. Persistence is not ignoring that, but it is using that as fuel to be like, well, you know what? Everything in my surrounding environment right now is telling me not to do this, to give up. But I actually want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see what I can do. I want to achieve this thing, not because I want to prove myself, but because I want to develop the skills that are going to come from learning this thing, from achieving this difficult thing. And that can be, it can be sport, an instrument, anything like that. Persistence, it's not giving up despite everything that's going on, despite what you're telling yourself, especially, and what other people are telling you. And even on top of that, when remind ourselves that other people's perceptions are merely just our perception of their perception. So quite frankly, it doesn't even matter what other people think. Giving things a go, not giving up despite what you think other people are thinking of you, especially when you're trying something new, when you're trying a sport or something that you're going to fail at. Persisting is a growth mindset. It's about wanting to be better. It's about wanting to do the things that are hard because you know the payoff is going to be worth it. Another quality that I think people with a growth mindset have is resilience. And again, what is resilience? It's the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties. So things that are challenging to us. How do we bounce back? How do we recover? How do we endure the hard things while we are trying to accomplish them, right? And I think it's sort of like the process and the outcome of successfully adapting to challenges that we face during our lives and during our experiences, right? And especially through our mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility, right? We can adjust to internal and external demands. That is what resilience is, right? When we have the grit, when we can look at ourselves, look at our mental, emotional well-being, and think all right, this is really hard. What is it teaching me? And it's not just our mental and emotional states. It's also to do with our behavior. So say, for example, actually, I have a really good example. I went wakeboarding the other day, right, at a wakeboarding place with my friends. And I haven't been wakeboarding since I was young and I was scared of everything, right? I didn't like wakeboarding because I had never done it before and I did not want to look stupid in front of people who had wakeboarded, right, and were good at it. I didn't want to be the beginner, the amateur in front of people who knew what they were doing, right? And that was 100% my ego. But when I went wakeboarding the other day, all those same thoughts and feelings and emotions came rushing back to me like, oh my God, you don't know how to wakeboard. You're not going to be good at it. You're going to fail. You're probably not even going to be able to stand up. And that behavior, so all those things running through my mind at the time were trying to stop me from doing something new, right? And I know for some people, it might be as silly as wakeboarding. But for me, that was really challenging because I had all of these previous ideas and beliefs attached to it, right? My ego was like, oh my God, you're going to look like an idiot doing this. And it's really hard for us to go back to being the beginner, especially when we're in an environment where it doesn't seem like there are beginners there. But again, it's all about that resilience. It's about our persistence. It's about trying not to worry about our perception of other people's perceptions of us, trying not to let that get in the way and stop us from achieving something, from developing a skill. Because at the end of the day, it's not even just about developing a skill. It's not even just about being good at wakeboarding or getting up and being able to do a lap at the wakeboarding park. That's not really what it's about. It's about what we learn throughout that process. It's what we take away from ourselves when our brains are like, no, you can't do this. No, you're going to look stupid. No, you don't know what you're doing. You probably shouldn't do it. those people are going to think you're dumb and silly, and you're going to look like a doofus, right? And then you step in and you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to be the beginner here. And this is outside of my comfort zone. And yeah, I'm scared as heck that I'm going to look silly in the process of doing this. But I think a growth mindset is all about what you do with that information. It's what you do before you're good at something, right? Are you going to let it overcome you? Are you going to let it take over and be like, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to give up because I don't want to look stupid. I don't want my body to hurt when I'm wakeboarding because I haven't used those muscles before. And you could easily just give up, right? I think that is sort of a fixed mindset when we don't give things a go because of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of whatever, you name it, fear of the potential that you could be good at something. I think having a growth mindset is about looking at ourselves, honestly, humbling ourselves, being like, you know what? Yeah, you are going to look a bit silly, but with good reason. You're not going to be good at something from the get-go. It's just not how it is. It's about what you do with your fears. It's about what you do with your thoughts and your behaviors. Do you let it overcome you? Or do you say, you know what? I actually want to better myself. I want to get more resilient. I want to get more persistent. I want to give things a crack, and I want to learn, and I want to grow, and I want to see how I can manage my thoughts and emotions when I'm doing hard things. I think that in essence is what a growth mindset is. It's about always trying to learn, and it's about navigating the hard emotions and the mental challenges and the behaviors that come up when you are faced with adversity, when you are faced with a challenge, when you are well outside of your comfort zone. That is the growth mindset. Wanting to be better, wanting to do better, even when every part of ourselves, our environment, and the people that we're surrounded by sort of are giving us the signal that we should give up, right? It's about not believing those things. It's about believing in ourselves above anything. So that is kind of my take on what a growth mindset is, right? So why do we need one? Why should we all have a growth mindset, and what are the benefits of it? So I think for starters, we need a growth mindset because without one, we're not learning, we're not developing ourselves, we're kind of staying stagnant, and we're letting our fear overtake us. We're not getting outside of our comfort zone, we're not trying anything new. And I think that when we do adopt this, constant desire to learn, this constant desire to grow and change, and adopt that mindset of growing, then we can start to get comfortable in the uncomfortable, right? We start to learn that uncomfortable things are just a temporary state, and it leads to beautiful outcomes. When we are putting ourselves in a new experience, one that we haven't been exposed to before, when we're doing something that is new to us, that we don't have the muscle memory of, or that we don't have the skill to be able to perform, we are learning that it is okay to look silly. It's okay to not know what we're doing, and it's okay for those sort of negative thoughts to flood in. It's okay to have that self-doubt. And once we start to learn that it's all right, that we're going to be safe when we are in an uncertain environment, when we're in a state of uncertainty, we start to feel safe there. We start to feel comfortable in these uncomfortable situations, and we learn that we're going to be all right no matter what we're doing. And the fact that we are uncomfortable is beautiful. It means that we're growing. It means that we're developing as people. We're developing our qualities, our skills, right? Our communication, our ability to interact with other people. We're developing all these things. And that's why it's so important to get uncomfortable in these sort of really icky situations that we don't feel safe in. Another thing, I think having a growth mindset allows us to have compassion for ourselves, right? When we observe our thoughts and the thought patterns that we have when we're scared about doing something, or when we're taking the leap of, learning an instrument and we feel stupid, we can have compassion for who we are. We can be empathetic to ourselves. We can understand ourselves and, reassure ourselves that this is normal. We don't know what we're doing because we haven't done it. It's not because we're incapable. And I think having that self-compassion allows us to give that compassion to other people who are struggling. So for instance, when I was wakeboarding, like there were other people there that were pros, that were amazing. And I was like, oh my God, get it. How are you doing that? Like, give me some pointers. That is so cool. But there were other people there that were struggling, maybe even more so than me. And I didn't judge them. I didn't think they were silly. I didn't think like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing here? You're not good. You should probably get out. You're wasting my time. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm proud of them for giving it a go. I had that compassion for them. I had that empathy for them. I was really proud of these strangers that I'd never met for getting in the water, trying wakeboarding, probably, flopping on their faces and stuff as much as I was. And I was proud of them, which is crazy because I didn't know them. But that's, I think, what having a growth mindset allows us to be able to do. It allows us to be able to relate to other people better, to put ourselves in their shoes, to understand. I think as well, when we do develop this growth mindset, we feel a massive sense of empowerment. Like it empowers us when we're getting outside of our comfort zone. When we're trying new things, we're like, oh my God, I can actually do that. Like it gives us confidence that we can, in fact, succeed at things that we want to. And it doesn't matter if we're not good at it at the start. It doesn't matter if we were born like a natural pro athlete or not. It doesn't matter because once we realize that we can actually develop these skills, we have this immense sense of like empowerment, right? We can achieve anything that we want to do just as long as we don't give up, as long as we persist, as long as we're resilient, as long as we give it a go, have that positive attitude, just give it a go. Be kind to ourselves when we are in that really weird phase of not knowing what we're doing, and get to the other side and have that skill to play that instrument or to be able to wakeboard or to, have the confidence to speak in front of a group of people. We realize like, hey, I can kind of do anything if I want to do that thing. Like if I want to wakeboard, I can get good at wakeboarding. If I want to be a public speaker and I'm shit scared of talking in front of people, like I can do that if I want to because I've proven to myself that I can. And in doing so, like we are giving ourselves that motivation, that courage, that bravery. We're empowering ourselves to create our dream life purely because we've adapted this mindset of I'm always learning. I am never going to know everything. I'm never going to be good at everything. I'm not going to be a master of anything. I am always learning something. And it allows us to go full speed ahead, creating a life that we want. We can be the person that we want to be. We can have the qualities. We can have these innate qualities that we admire in other people purely because we want them. We can be good at a sport purely because we want to. We can play multiple musical instruments purely because we want to be surrounded by music. It is a mindset thing. It is the power of our mind. And when we view things from the idea that we are learning, everything is learning, and it is all about growing, developing ourselves, developing our qualities, who we are as a person, our skill sets, then we sort of empower ourselves to believe that we can, in fact, do anything and be anyone that we want to be. And I think trailing on from that, when we are deeply rooted in this sense of self-respect and belief in our abilities, we inspire other people to believe that they can also be the same, right? It's infectious, it's contagious, it's like laughing. It's how many times have you looked over in school or uni, or you're just having a ball with your friends, they start laughing, you start laughing. It's the same with a growth mindset. You surround yourself with someone who has a growth mindset and you will develop one, right? You surround yourself with somebody who believes that they can achieve anything that they want to, you are going to believe that you can achieve and be anything that you want to. It's as simple as that. Like, that positivity inspires other people. Chasing after a life that we want inspires other people to chase after a life that they want. Not the same life, but a life that is aligned with them. We can help each other. We can encourage people to be better versions of themselves. We can lift the spirit of the collective purely by having this core value and belief that we are constantly learning, we are constantly growing. There is always something to discover. So I think they're just some of the benefits of developing a growth mindset, of developing upon an already existing growth mindset that we have, right? This is why we need it. Such a beautiful part of being human is to just notice that everything is changing, that we are changing, that we are developing, that we are learning all the time, all day, every day. We have that power. And it's crazy and it's amazing. And I think it's really wonderful. So, how do we develop a growth mindset? What if we don't have one at all and we have this super duper fixed mindset and we want to be able to be more open minded? I hate to break it to you, but I don't think you would be listening to this podcast at all. You wouldn't be curious about, learning or absorbing the perspectives of other people if you didn't, in some slight way, already have a growth mindset, because that's just what it is. We are attracted to things that help us grow, whether we like it or not. And I think everybody has the quality to be able to develop, to become more open minded. And I think open-mindedness, it exists on a spectrum, similar to our emotions and things like that. You can, be a little bit curious, a little bit open-minded, or you can be full-blown, you have these thoughts and ideas and you're willing to share them with other people. But as soon as someone gives, a perspective that is nothing like yours, you're like, oh my God, that's such an interesting way of thinking about things. There's, two ends of the spectrum and everyone exists sort of on that spectrum. So, sort of how our brain works to allow us to have a growth mindset, it's neuroplasticity, right? It's the little pathways in our brain that link things together, link our thoughts together, experiences together. It draws conclusions between something we've experienced and something we've heard, right? It's all these little pathways lighting up in our brains. It allows us to change, recognize, and grow more neural pathways, right? So the more that we expose ourselves to new things, the more perspectives we're gaining, the more insight, the more newness and new conclusions we're drawing in our mind, the more of these pathways are lighting up, which means we're growing more, right? So when we commit to learning, we are creating these new pathways because we're finding solutions to problems within our environment. We are discovering new philosophies and interpretations of ourselves and other people and the world. So if we go by that, the neuroplasticity, our brain is always changing and evolving, and there are always new pathways firing up, drawing links between this and that and here and there, right? So then how does that contribute to developing a growth mindset? How do we get those neural pathways firing? How do we get them active? I think the very first thing is just being curious. I think it starts with why, asking ourselves why, right? Nothing is a solid yes or no. Nothing is this way just because it is, right? There is always a why. There is always a reasoning behind everything, right? You behave in a certain way, why? There is always a reason why. And I think for me, developing that growth mindset really started when I started questioning everything that I have ever wanted, right? Why did I want to be an engineer? Why did I want to move out of home? Why was I so defensive about things? Why did I want to move to Geelong? Why did I want to study a university degree? Why didn't I want to go and travel? Right? Actually reflecting on myself and my decisions and asking myself, actually, why do I want those things? As well, switch out your language. Like I was saying earlier, notice the way that you talk to yourself when you are trying something new, when you are out of your comfort zone. Is it positive or is it really self-critical and negative? And yeah, when I was at the wakeboard park the other day, the boys that I was like being really empathetic and compassionate towards and being like, wow, you're doing such a really good job getting out here and trying this. And, you know, like it's really hard, but you're giving it a go. They were saying really mean things to themselves. They were like, I can't do this. I'm just not good at it. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's sad to hear, because when you are self-critical, when you are negative to yourself, you're not giving yourself the confidence to keep going. You're not seeing the silver lining in the gray clouds while you're really struggling with something, right? When you're struggling with a new skill, it's going to be hard. But being mean to yourself while you're struggling is just going to make it even worse. And it's going to make you not want to continue trying to develop that skill. When you try a new sport and you suck at it at the start, as everybody inevitably does, like the way that you speak to yourself is going to determine if you continue pursuing that hobby or not. It's as simple as that. So if you gain the power to switch out that self-critical and really negative self-talk to become more positive, to become more encouraging and compassionate and kind to yourself, then you're going to be more likely to achieve what you want to achieve. When you believe that you can do something, even though you're really, really, really crappy at it initially, then you're believing in yourself. You're giving yourself that power. You're empowering yourself to keep going despite all odds. You're giving yourself that persistence and resilience. Another really cool way that I found that we can develop our growth mindset is to seek out constructive feedback from others. And this is actually really hard initially because we don't want to be told that we're not good at something, right? We don't want people to judge us. It again comes back to that fear of other people's perceptions, which is just our perception of their perception of us. But when we actively go out and ask somebody for advice, when we ask somebody to tell us sort of like what isn't working and why, so that we can learn from that and make adjustments, it's really hard at the start, but it's one of the best ways that you are able to grow, right? And if you seek out constructive feedback from people that you trust and you support and people who respect you, they're going to encourage you to keep going. And you're going to be like, wow, I feel really safe. I'm really glad that I asked this person for advice because they've given me the confidence in myself to keep going. They haven't told me that I am silly and that I should give up, and they haven't done it in a way that makes me doubt myself. So when you seek out that feedback from others, when it is constructive and when it does come from a really loving place in their heart and it's not judgmental and it is kind and compassionate, it encourages us to keep going, to not give up. And not only should we be seeking out advice and feedback from other people, but we should be actively seeking out experiences that challenge us. In order to grow, we need to be doing things that are uncomfortable. We need to be doing things that challenge us. If things don't challenge us, they don't change us. And if we're not changing, we're not growing and we're not evolving. And what is the point of this beautifully wacky world if we are not learning and growing? So, what are some things that get us immensely out of our comfort zone? Travel. Travel is a big one. I'm all for traveling, solo traveling, traveling with a partner, just going somewhere you have never been before, doing something in a foreign place that you have never done. Going to a foreign country where they don't speak the same language as you, solo traveling in a van around Australia, going and volunteering with kids in a third world country. Like things like that that get you so far out of your comfort zone, that take you out of your current situation and put you in one that is completely new, something you have never experienced before, is going to create crazy new insights for you. Your brain is going to be firing and creating all these crazy new neuro pathways because it has to adjust. It has to adapt in this new environment that it has never been in before. It has to come up with solutions. So traveling is a big one. And going off that one, a foreign language, learning a language is amazing for our brains, right? And it's really hard. Like you will learn so much and you have so much respect and compassion for the people who do speak that language. Reading as well, hearing other people's perspectives and insights. Surrounding yourself with people who don't have the same values or beliefs as you, and trying to navigate a relationship, whether it be a friendship, a romantic relationship, or just a conversation with someone who doesn't share the same beliefs as you, right? How can you navigate that interaction in a really understanding and compassionate way? Music is another big one. When you're learning an instrument, it is so hard for your ego to come to terms with the fact that you are bad at something, right? And just because you're bad at something initially doesn't mean that you can't get good at it. It is all about practice, and it's all about being curious and determined and observing our thoughts and being kind to ourselves when we are kind of crap at something, right? Instead of negging out, instead of being like, I'm the worst, this is the worst, I'm not good at this, I just should stop. And another big one, I think, that is going to propel you immensely and allow you to develop more of an open-minded attitude is following your creative pursuits. I honestly am blown away day in and day out by people who have chosen to follow their creative pursuits, whether that be photography or developing a business for a product or painting or drawing or selling their art, trying to make something of themselves in a really unconventional way. That is going to allow you to grow in ways that you can't even imagine, because you're trying to pave a path that has not been laid out for you. And I think that is the number one way that we grow as people. And when we are growing as people, we are developing our growth mindset. We are strengthening our ability to learn, our ability to maintain our positive attitude when we are faced with really hard things, when we are faced with challenges, right? When we're trying to create something beautiful with love and passion, when we're being creative is when our minds are the most engaged. I think when you are on that creative journey, when you are doing something that you love and are passionate about, when it doesn't make you money, right, and you want it to make you money, that is when you're going to be finding solutions to all of these little problems that you've got in your mind, right? Creativity is how we grow. But not only creativity, but the passion for our creativity. Passion is where our growth comes from. Passion is where our desire to learn comes from, right? It's not this innate skill that we have. It's not because we were born to be good at it. It's because we have this drive to succeed at this thing. Yeah, an artist might have been born a really good drawer or a painter, but they may not have. I, for one, know that I was not born a good speaker. But what I want to do involves me sharing my voice and my ideas and my perspective. And I want that more than anything because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about getting my ideas out into the world. And the only way for me to do that is to develop my ability to communicate with people. It's not because I'm good at it. It wasn't because I was born a public speaker. It's just because I am passionate. Talent only takes you so far. It is about the mindset that you have when you are in the pursuit of succeeding in that area. That is a growth mindset. That is why we need it. And that is what keeps the world turning. It is these creative endeavors. It is sport. It is art. It is music. Anybody who is on a creative pursuit is like, surround yourself with those people. They literally think that they can achieve anything because they can. Musicians, they're busking. That's how they make their money. That's how they pay rent. That's how they pay for their groceries. But they have a massive dream, man. Like, they have this beautiful, beautiful vision for themselves and the people that they care about. And that in itself is a growth mindset. And your growth mindset feeds off of your passion, and it feeds off of your love and your confidence in yourself and what you can achieve. So once you sort of get in that loop of a growth mindset, of having an open mind, of wanting to learn all the time, you're just going to be looping around constantly. The more that you grow as a person, the more that you believe in yourself, the more that you believe in yourself, the more that you want to learn new things, the more that you learn new things, the more confident you are in your abilities and that you can achieve anything. You get it? Like, it's just the loop. It feeds itself, and it is a wonderful, wonderful loop. So yeah, I think that is that on a growth mindset. I really, really hope that you guys have learned something, as always, from this episode. Thank you for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. If you did like it, give it a rating, share it with your friends or some people in your life who you think will benefit or will learn something from it as well. But yeah, that is all from me today. The world is waiting for you, so get on out there and enjoy your big, beautiful life. Bye.